it wasn't just one, it was like one after another, doing the next one, a big one.
Oh, sick.
Sero was slowly built. Like I remember we had half a boxing ring. We had like 3 machines.
We had concrete floors. Dust everywhere.
But you don't need like a fancy gym. All you need is a good community, a good clientele that supports you and believes in you. It was meant to be. Like that was what was meant to happen in that moment in order for me to kind of be like, I'm just going to keep pushing, going to keep grinding.
And I kept saying, like, if you're not doing it, someone else is going to do it. It really knocked me about. I was just like, wow, okay, you're not just superwoman. You actually have to continue to build, continue to grow, and go through obviously challenging moments to be able to grow.
We spend $0 in marketing and our gym's packed. We do about over 100 sessions a day.
Realizing that, accepting where you are and being like, okay, I can be better. Making a mistake is better than, not doing it at all.
All right, guys, this is a really good episode. We have Jono and Amy Castano on. Now, Jono famously a PT to the stars, has done some amazing body transformations that kind of put him on the map. But what Amy and Jono have been able to build with their companies, ACERO. Now, you might have seen them on social media. They're everywhere. They've got gyms, a fitness app, and a clothing line. So they've been really successful in building up a whole brand off the back of their personal brand and their organic content strategy. So in this episode, we kind of talk a bit about their journey, how they were able to stand out from the crowd and achieve things that other people weren't by thinking a little bit differently and putting aside the fear of failure and the fear of judgment and going out and doing these things when other people weren't doing it. And it's just had such amazing results for them. And we share some of the key insights and values that have enabled them to have success with business, but also with their health and fitness and their lifestyle as well. So really good episode. It's always good energy when we have 2 guests on as well. So that was a lot of fun. We'll get into the episode in a second, but before we do, can I ask for a couple of favors? If you're watching on YouTube, can you do me a favor and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could give me a 5-star review, that really helps the podcast grow and we get bigger and better guests all the time. So with that being said, let's get into the podcast. All right, back with another episode. So we got 2 obviously awesome founders, some big names in the fitness and business scene in Australia. Now, I was just chatting to these guys before we started recording. We could have easily done an episode on each of them. Maybe we will in the future. But a lot of you guys would know these people if you spend any time on social media. They're really common faces out there. So we got Jono and Amy Castano on the podcast. So they're the founders of the ACERO group. Now we've got a couple of gyms which we'll talk about. I'm keen to hear and unpack the whole journey. So they got the clothing label Wear ACERO and the fitness app as well, ACERO Dip. So we're going to talk about all of that, a little bit of context for both of you, and then we'll get into the business overview stuff. And then we'll kind of do a rewind and get to guys know you a little bit more at the start. But for those that don't know, Jono, obviously famous as a celebrity personal trainer, the man behind very famously Rebel Wilson's body transformation. Also work with the likes of Michael Clarke, Chris Hemsworth, Richard Branson, at least according to Google anyway. Yeah. So, and Amy, you're one of the OG beauty content influencers, one of the proper OGs, like before nearly anyone.
YouTube days.
YouTube days. Yeah. Like no video on Instagram. That was like literally years later. And so you had like a transfer from like finance, want to do something a little bit more creative. So we'll kind of get to know you guys in a little bit rewind. Yep. But just to set the scene, as I said, like you kind of got a group of companies under the ACERO brand now. I don't mind who wants to start, but paint a little picture about kind of the current setup, what you got going on with the 3 different branches of the business. And then we'll just start unpacking it and talking about that.
I think, I guess let's start off with the gym, Amy.
Yeah. So we started out in Kensington.
Yep.
We started in COVID.
COVID
times.
What an interesting time to start a gym.
Yeah. It was actually like when you think about it, like why? Yeah. But also it was just the right timing.
Yeah, I think because of that experience that I had. So what happened was COVID happened and then I was working at a gym and then so the guys that owned the gym continued to train in their own gym and then kicked all of us out and we were like training in like the mud, in the rain. And I'm just in my head like, oh my God, I can't believe these guys are, full on training their own gym and kicked us out. And I was like, man, like I think Amy, like it's time to kind of think of an idea of like have our own thing.
Yeah. And I think in the pipeline, like we always thought like, Jono being a PT, he was killing it in every gym he ever went to. Been across a few.
Gets around a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
In a good way.
But
just spreading the impact, baby. Spreading the impact.
A pipe dream for him was always, look, a gym would be cool. Having my own space, cool. But it was never something we planned. Like we never put a business plan. We never felt it. Then I was training boxing at the gym downstairs, and they had a space upstairs which was empty.
Okay.
due to COVID. So that gym moved out.
Yep.
And he was like, what do you think? And I was like, let's go. Like, let's do it. So we gutted that out. I just had this vision for what Jono and I are and what we wanted to put into a business and the branding and everything like that. And it just came alive.
So talk to me about that. Where were you at? Where was your last gym that you were at before you started your own? Was it Virgin Active? You there for ages, right?
I started off at Virgin Active and then I moved around. I got around a bit. Got around to Fitness First, you know. And then I went to a place called Soma. And then after that, we built ACERO. But I think just to add on to what Amy was saying was like, you know, like ACERO was slowly built. Like I remember we had half a boxing ring. We had like literally 3, like how much equipment do we have in there?
Oh, like not much at all. And like I think
our clients continued to continue
to
keep
it close for me. Yeah. Like, otherwise I just don't want to lose any of this. I'll annoy you. It's good. It's good. Sweet. Yeah, like, I'm just paranoid.
So like in the process of ACERO, like the ring was half built. Mm-hmm. We had like 3 machines.
We had concrete floors. Dust everywhere. But I think what I take from that is like you don't need like a fancy gym. All you need is a good community, a good clientele that supports you and believes in you. I feel like that's kind of my main take from that, and I think that's what's continued to build ACERO because our clients not only believe now in the product, but they believed in me.
Yeah,
and what I was obviously putting out there. But yeah, like ACERO is just every year she's gotten better, stronger and stronger. But as we all know, as business owners, like you know, the more you grow, the more responsibilities and the more stress and the more different. I think for me, the more different hats that I've had to learn to wear. Do you know, like for me, I've always been a PT, so I'm part of the guys, and then that's where Amy does an incredible job because her part of the role is, you know, like she's basically the head of ACERO, like she does all the back end of it. You know, but
you know, obviously with you have a team. Mm-hmm. I also have a team, and without them, we would not be where we are today.
Yeah. So as well, one of your roles, Amy, Chief Vibes Officer. Explain to me, bring the energy. Explain everyone listening, like what the responsibilities of a Chief Vibes Officer is.
So as soon as you walk in, you need to bring the vibe.
Yeah.
You know, music, energy, high level. I think that's another part of ACERO.
Yeah.
You know, people walk in there and in our Kensington location, there's no light. Mm-hmm. It's literally like, you know, fake light. There's no daylight. I mean, so you could walk in there. It's like Vegas. You don't know what time it is.
What time it is. No windows, no clocks.
There were windows and I blocked them out.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't want no windows.
Yeah. So I remember you used that Pinterest image. Like you saw this, got an idea through Pinterest and it was like all dark, all big black, lights, long
nothing,
lights.
Yeah. And that's where
the inspo came for the design.
And I guess massive part of ACERO is walking in there and feeling like that 45 minutes or whatever, however long you spend in there is like everything else is like blocked out.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we wanted our clientele to feel.
I was looking at some of your training videos last night in kind of preparation for today. And it is very like, it's clearly different to your everyday gym that you walk into. Yeah. What is it from like both of your perspectives that makes ACERO different to like, you know, any other gym?
Well, first of all, we use state-of-the-art equipment. We use Techno Gym. But I think for me personally, I've worked across numerous gyms, right? As soon as you step into ACERO, I feel like you can kind of feel the energy and you feel like this is like no egos, no one's going to judge me. Like, and there's obviously it's a PT gym, so no one's going to stand there and be like, fuck.
Stand over you,
you know what I mean?
Finish, bro.
Like that, like the amount of times I see people like just texting or whatever or having a look at girls and feeling intimidated. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the gym is an intimidating place for people, right? Especially someone overweight. Mm-hmm. And I feel we've kind of like, you know, opened up so many doors to those people that feel insecure. And I feel like that's what makes ACERO different for me personally anyway.
Yeah.
Working in
I would say our people. Like we're in the business of people, right? Yeah, we're providing a service through people. And our people, our team is so important to us. You know, we need that team to be and feel like a family, and it does. And I think that's what we give to our clientele as well, is that it feels like they become a part of ACERO, part of the family. And, you know, with a family, it's got those dynamics. And I feel like our community feels that.
So what is it? I know you've spoken about like whenever you're recruiting people to bring into the business, you're very specific with the types of people and like the keyword, the types of energy you bring in. What are you looking for someone when you bring them in to be part of the family?
Energy is massive for me. You know, obviously this podcast is 111.
Yeah.
So like that's huge for me.
We forgot to say
angel numbers.
Episode 111, baby. Angel numbers.
It's meant to be. So energy for us is massive. And I feel like as soon as you meet someone within that first 2 minutes, like energy transpires so quickly.
I agree. And I think for me personally, I think you can always teach someone to be a trainer, but you can't teach someone to be a good person.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the motto that I take, you know, because if you're a good person, you're a good person. And then you can just become an awesome trainer with our education and stuff. Yeah, that's how we hire people. Like, obviously, we've hired before in the past. We kind of didn't go right, and they didn't take the opportunity. But once again, hey, like, you know, you can't, you know, make a horse drink the water, right? As they say, like, you can lead it to the water. But yeah, but definitely, our team is amazing, eh?
Yeah.
Something I was really fascinated about and wanted to ask you about is like, even as you mentioned, you've like had to grow and wear a lot of other hats from going from just being a PT, like killing it on your own to building out a team. But on that sort of like PT journey, I'm really fascinated by like really high performers. One thing me and my partner started doing a couple months ago, just, you know, how you got those shows you watch with your partner at night, you know, relax at the end of the day. We started watching, I don't know if you guys have ever watched it, Lux Listings Sydney.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And then I've never really followed the real estate industry, but like obviously come across like Gav Rubenstein and like the way he was able to like, know wherever he went, get such like great results. And like, even though like I'm not a real estate agent, I've learned so much from watching the way he operates and do that. Coming back to like your success you had, like that first 12 months you were at, well, I've got it written down here, that Virgin Gym. You're like the best trainer for like Asia Pacific in your first year there. What do you put your success down to in terms of like your PT? Is it like
it's quite funny. I guess even before that, I actually applied for the role 3 times and I got rejected.
Okay.
It's funny. I got rejected 3 times for that role.
Who was that HR manager?
I know. But now that I look back, I kind of understand, because the way that Virgin works is like they want you to be part of the brand for forever.
Okay, yeah.
And then when someone like myself that has bigger dreams than that, then they're like, oh, maybe this guy isn't right for us.
Yeah.
So I felt like the 3rd time they're like, oh, let's just give him a shot.
Yeah, he's been back here.
He's been back here like 3 times. I remember I went all the way to Norway. So I wanted this job so bad. You know, when you get rejected and you're like, man, like,
makes you want it more.
It makes you want it more. And I think that's what created the hunger. And then once I kind of got into the fold of Virgin, I wanted to show them on like what they missed out on.
Yeah.
And then I just went in there guns blazing. Man, like I remember I was doing about 84 sessions like per week, which
that's
is like
mental,
so
man.
Like I was earning them so much cash. Now I'm like, I look back and I'm like, oh man, that was a lot of money I earned them, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously part of that process was winning the obviously Asia Pac Trainer of the Year, which was once again like a great award. It kind of first of all got me busy.
Yeah.
A lot of those clients continued to follow me. I think the one thing that I didn't like was when I made social media with Virgin Active, they were so against it.
Just a quick one from me. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you'd know that after scaling Happy Skin Co. to over $10 million per year, I spent close to 18 months creating the Viral Brand Builder program, which teaches someone with zero experience how to launch and scale their very own e-commerce brand. With over 100 training videos and direct access to me, including one-on-one calls, you'll be guided throughout the entire process. Now, we already have a bunch of incredible results from students that are making multiple 5 and 6 figures per month. So if you want to learn how to build a business that has the potential to completely change your life, then click the link in the description and book in an application call today. Spots are limited as you'll be speaking directly to me. So hopefully I'll chat to some of you soon. But until then, let's get back to the podcast. That's interesting. I heard you speaking about it. I wanted to chat about that. So this was pretty early on, right? What sort of years was this? Because you were both kind of the forefront of like building personal brand on socials.
Yeah.
This was like
I obviously started on
you got
socials.
Me onto it.
I did.
Like,
I was like,
so you're onto it first.
I was onto it first. So I was doing like makeup, just sharing like obviously in finance. On the weekends, I would do like makeup, and then that built into me doing clients for makeup. I have no experience.
So you done like makeup artist,
makeup
well
artist, like traveling. And then I was like, Jono, like, why don't you post your fitness stuff on Instagram? Like, you could do anything. And so we did. And then obviously Virgin like sat him down and was like, what are you doing on Instagram? Like, what is this?
Like, what is this? Because no one was doing it.
No one was doing it. No one knew what
no one
Instagram
knew
was.
So, like I remember because basically it was just like an app for photos. Like it was just kind of like you just do your snaps and that's what it was. It was never used as like an educational tool and all that type of stuff. And
or advertising.
And the people that got in early, you know, like, you know, Nick Cheadle, you know, Kayla, Steph Claire Smith, like everyone we all started early on this platform and continued to smack. We didn't stop, you know, like it's quite funny, the amount of bullying not like, you know, I call it
banter,
for me, I call it banter to a certain extent. Like, I think once people start to call names and I'm like, it's just kind of not needed in the workplace. And it put me in a bad place. You know, I'm like, so I'd kind of like hide from those type of people. And I think when you're in a working environment, man, like you want to be there. Obviously. And like, literally I got bullied so much times,
Yeah.
And now I look back and
what is it from like the other guy, like the trainers or like
I would say the trainers, they just kind of, man, like absolutely like smash me. Like
that's Australia though, you know?
They'll see
that's
the
what we
post
do,
and it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, what is this?
What is this?
Who's laughing now?
I know, but that's why I look back and I'm like, you know what, like it was meant to be. Like that was what was meant to happen in that moment in order for me to kind of be like, you know, I'm just going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep grinding.
And I kept saying, like, if you're not doing it, someone else is going to do it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But how was it like? I'm sure it's easy to talk about it now. You know, like you're in your 30s, you have a lot more perspective and experience. You've obviously seen it play out and be a tremendous success. But like, did it rattle you at the time? Or like, did it give you any second thoughts about, am I doing the right thing? Or you were always just like, nah, I believe in this. I'm just going to stick to it.
100%. Like, I'm only human, right?
For sure. Yeah.
We get thoughts all the time. Like, you know, our mind, you know, plays games with us. Oh, this isn't right for me. This is not.
Yeah.
And of course, 100%. Yeah. And I think it came down to, I think the community that I started to build and obviously Amy's positive feedback, like just keep going, hey?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and slowly by slowly, I remember Amy was the first person to give me the first brand deal that I got. What was it? Like Under Armour shoes, was it?
Yeah.
It was quite funny. I just wanted free meals from the start.
He wanted free food.
I'm like, I just want free meals.
Free meal price.
When I first started.
Yeah.
But man, like if it wasn't for like I always look back even to this day, I'm like, if it wasn't for social media, I don't think I would have been able to step out of the pack.
Yeah.
Because that jump, like from, like you spoke about, from being a PT to like being an expert to being a mentor, I think like that step there is huge. You know, there's not many people in the industry that can do it.
For sure.
And I think, for sure, like so many people try, but
because like all the deals that you've done, like the men's health, like ambassadorship, like training with them, like all the TV appearances, all the celebrity stuff that you've done, and which we can chat out about in a little bit. But it's like none of that would have come without putting yourself out there.
100%.
And again, another reason like I was so keen to chat to you guys were like the OGs in terms of building socials and building personal brand. It's come full circle to the point now. That's like the most important thing, the most important strategy you can use. Like, and because I do a lot of e-com mentoring, as I was saying, and just what's working right now, you guys, I'm sure would have observed it. Founder-based content and like the story and people documenting the journey about what it really looks like in that journey is performing so well, but still some people are hesitant to put themselves out there for fear of judgment or fear of failure. Did you guys what was the thought process with you guys and how did you overcome the fear of putting yourself out there, the fear of judgment, the fear of, you know, maybe this isn't going to work and it's going to flop?
I suffered a bit with this,
I did, I was doing so well on a roll. And then, obviously something happened and I was just like, it really knocked me about. I was just like, wow, okay, you're not just like, I guess, superwoman. Like you actually have to, you know, continue to build, continue to grow and go through obviously challenging moments to be able to grow and I guess develop yourself and your characteristics.
I agree. Yeah, because I think it like in the like social media industry, I think what tends to happen is everyone's going for the same job. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, when Amy's got her beauty jobs, there's 100 other girls, and then when Amy gets a job, when Amy gets a job, it's like, well, they look within themselves. They're like, why didn't I get the job?
Yeah.
Rather than being like, what can I do better?
Yeah.
to get the job.
And like I was saying before, in Australia, we very much have that tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah,
and it's great, especially if you're an early mover into something like content. You're one of the first to put yourself out there. It's like that crabs in a bucket. One person's trying to escape, they all grab them and try and bring them back down. And it's probably like the more I travel, the more I fall in love with Australia, and the more I realize, like, as a place to live and raise a family, I think you can't beat it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there are elements about Australia, particularly like as I started the business and I wanted to be really aggressive and expand, where I felt a little bit limited here. So there are pros and cons to it. But what's your experience with, like, you're doing that, you start seeing the results? Did from the management at Virgin, did they start to change their tune a little bit about, okay, Jono, maybe do your thing, or they were pretty, stubborn with their thoughts and messaging around that?
I think they were pretty stubborn. And
they were like,
I don't think they
either get rid of it or
can't even.
It's mental.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it,
Yeah. But I think that also pushed you away.
That pushed me away to do something else.
Okay, why am I a part of this team when I'm not included in the team, and I'm trying to do something else and being told that I shouldn't, and trying to stand out. So obviously that pushes you down, and you're like, oh, I'm trying to do something good here, and then I get kicked while I'm down, kind of thing.
That happens like so often as well,
It
like
does.
in anyone's journey. Like, how many times have you heard, like, nah, man, like, you shouldn't do this, or and I think
that's not going to work.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to digging deep and really kind of being like, this is the thing I need to do, and believe yourself.
Yeah.
I guess, like, with obviously this whole Virgin thing, like, it pushed me out. It made me go to Fitness First, where that company really valued what I was doing in terms of social media. And then they made me kind of the Fitness First poster boy. I was like, like
the face
of, like, they needed a face, and then I got to do that. I got to be like, front cover mag. I got to be in all their screens, all that type of stuff, like my own kind of in the mag, like weekly feature or whatever, So it kind of really made me push outside of Virgin and then go to Fitness First, where it's like, I remember I wasn't even like, so basically for me, I wasn't even paying rent there.
Yeah. Because you were giving so much value to them in terms of your brand associating with them.
Yeah, which was such a, like, unknown thing, because they, obviously for me, I was bringing in, like Australian personalities.
Yeah.
And that's what they were lacking. And then I was really the only trainer aiming for that. Because like,
it was also just like unheard of.
Yeah, no one was wanting to target kind of the, people in the mainstream, people that are like in articles, and that's what I wanted. Because my vision was, I want people to know exactly what I do as a profession. That's what made me want to kind of really get into the whole training celebs, that type of stuff, being an expert. Like, like I wanted people to know what I do.
Because you're famous for, like, your body transformations, right? The journey that you put people through. But I'm sure, like, you don't just wake up one day and be like, I'm a celebrity trainer.
No, correct.
What do you put? Because, like, there's thousands and thousands of PTs. I worked in a gym for a few years, and I saw the PTs. Like, you talk about doing 75, 80 sessions a week. The good ones are doing like 30 to 40, and that was like, wow. To be doing those sorts of numbers, like, and I'm sure you've been asked this 100 times, Jono, what's your secret? But what do you really think is, like, the key to how you're able to have such success in terms of transformations with your clients, whether it be celebrity or other?
I think my success comes down to me personally. Is I always like to say I'm not a personal trainer. I'm a, like, 24/7.
Yeah.
Kind
coach,
of
mentor,
coach, like, like the amount of times like that I continue to get food photos. No matter how busy I am, I don't care. Like, in my response time, I always believe, me and Amy are big believers about, if you don't respond back in 5 minutes and throw an email or a text, and I think you're kind of doing it wrong.
That's really taking service to the next level.
And I think that's
setting crazy standards.
That's kind of what makes me
differentiates you. Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's why people, pay like quality money to train me. And that's how I get people results. But like the results just came like it wasn't just one. It was like one after another, after another, after another, and then that's kind of what obviously gave me that kind of position, like with Men's Health Australia, which I still continue to do.
Yeah,
we're doing the next one, a big one. So
sick.
Yeah, we got 2 more weeks.
Say that?
Yeah, I'm allowed to say that. Yeah. So we got we got 2 weeks to shoot him. So you know what I mean. Like, I get all these personalities now because they know that I can deliver, and they know I can get the results for people.
So where did that start? Where did the attention outside of just your standard PT stuff start coming? Where was it off the back? Like,
I'm trying to think what was I would say
budgie smugglers.
Wearing budgie socks. I would say.
Do your sessions, your PTs and budgie socks and shit.
I think for me anyway, I started to get a lot of traction through, like say for example, when I started to get a lot of online kind of articles. I think that's when I started to get a lot of traction.
Daily Mail.
Like a lot of Daily Mail, like personal trainer, Jono Castano transforms,
Yeah.
Or, that type. I feel like when I started to kind of break into that more mainstream rather than just being an influencer. Is when I started to kind of pick up a lot more social media jobs, like more higher brands, like, you know what I mean? Like your Hublots, which I got at the moment.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy partnership.
It is. It's a crazy story, that partnership, because that came around, I was with Breitling before. Went to an event of Hublots, got along really well with the staff of the team. And then, they're like, hey, we love what you do. And then got that gig, which is good. But what about your gigs, name? Like you got some pretty big gigs as well. Like, how did they come across?
Dyson. I've worked with.
Saw the size of one of the boxes Dyson sent you not long ago.
Holy
shit, they're getting big.
You see Amy's, mate.
Like, what do you need? Do you need skincare? Do you need makeup?
Whenever I need anything, I'm just like Amy, like,
what do you got for me?
She's got buckets, like buckets.
Literally.
My partner's like a content creator, like model and stuff as well. It's like I've got to put on, like, I'm a part-time delivery driver because every day there's 3-4 packages getting delivered to the office I'm taking home.
It's
crazy.
Next level. So what was it for you? Because to be like an OG in that, and like I guess the message in here for like the people listening, we've got like a very like business startup culture sort of audience, just people trying to find their path and like not just any generic path. And it's like all this come off the back of you guys taking a risk, putting yourself out there and not. Maybe, like you said, you're human beings. You felt the fear of, failure, the fear of judgment, but you didn't let that stop you. And it's like, look at the lives for the people listening that both of these people get to leave, like crazy, all off the back of putting themselves out there. So what did that early stages of that journey look like for you? Being an OG, I'm sure there wasn't like when you started, it's not like, I'm going to go do this collab, that collab. It wasn't really on the radar, I imagine, when you started.
Yeah. So I think, my first one was coconut oil. I remember that, H2 cocoa. So I promoted a coconut oil.
Yeah.
those shots back in the day.
Yeah. And then I think just like that, it's like a snowball effect, right? So like you do one and then a brand sees it, like a PR sees it and it's like, oh, okay, she likes that. She'll promote it on her socials. So then you get another package and then another package and then, a brand reaches out and they're like, oh, we'll pay you for this. And you're like,
what about the first time someone said, we'll pay you? What was that moment?
I was like, I can earn like $100 from this.
They probably pay you something.
Like $120 or something. Yeah. And I was like, wow, like this is a thing.
Yeah.
So it just, I guess, snowballing, like it just grows and grows and grows. And you get, I guess, realizations from so many other, brands and people see it. But I think today, brands are very like specific. Like they're like, okay, that person is good because their audience is this. Their look suits our brand. Like it's not just anyone and everyone. Where before it was like, oh, we'll just spread it.
And wide,
exactly.
I think budgets have been like kind of obviously a little bit more
tighter as well.
Tighter, and then kind of use it obviously on quality rather than quantity.
That's been the approach for us in our business as well. Like you rewind maybe like 5 years and like you just send any product to any influencer and then,
We've done it with Sero. We've done it as well. We've done it, you know what I mean? And like, it's just kind of, it doesn't, I don't know. It didn't work. It doesn't work, eh? Like
it's changed. It has changed a lot. Like when it was a new thing and like, it was kind of like not even seen as advertising. It was like, like now it's like people are conditioned to see it. Yeah. So they have to, like the collaborations really have to be in alignment.
Yes.
Correct. And like you have to as well, like back in the day, you could put like a creative brief with like quite a specific, like not script, but like flow, and they could just say anything and it would work. But nowadays, like it really is when you're either if you're a like influencer or content creator doing content for a brand or you're a brand trying to create a brief, it really, you need to give the people like a couple things to hit, but it has to be super organic, super authentic or people see straight through it and they just tune out, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like even when I see stuff through social, I tune out in like 2-3 seconds and that's obviously the common thing, eh? People just tune out.
Well, you're scrolling and you literally land on something for like 2 seconds. If it hasn't grabbed you in, then you miss it.
I think in terms of the organic content piece, from both of you, like the success your businesses have had seems to me from the outside looking in was very much built from your own personal followings. How big do you think personal brand was for you guys in the success you're able to have in the business fields?
I would say.
Yeah, I'd say with Jono obviously being an expert in the field, 100%.
Yeah.
For me, I was obviously in beauty, not really in the health space. Obviously I've done a multitude of, classes around Sydney. So I did have that experience. But I think, probably it was more so on you in the sense of your experience.
For sure. My personal brand had to, like we spoke about, like I wanted people to know what I did. And, my personal brand was everything.
Yeah.
Without it, I'd probably say we wouldn't even have ACERO, to be honest.
Oh, so we would.
I don't know. It wouldn't be to the magnitude it is now. You know what I mean?
No. Your name definitely.
Like for us, we've spent $0 in marketing.
Yeah, it's all
Zero.
You know what I mean?
I
think when we say that, we've done 0 ads.
Yeah.
And our gym's packed. We do about over 100 sessions a day.
See, that's the thing right now. This is just what works in especially 2023, 2024, the power of organic content, particularly you need to add value and take people 100%. On a journey and give them a reason to follow. Because people don't it's particularly on Instagram, people don't everyone's always constantly culling their following and making sure it's still relevant to who they are and who they want to be. And it's the aspirational sort of style of content that you guys put out as well, that there's a lot of value in that. But talk to me, Jono, specifically. There's a story I definitely want to kind of hear about how you made that transition to training, just people in the city or the eastern suburbs to training high profile people. You mentioned you wanted to do it so you could get out there. Was it a strategic decision to do that on purpose, or did the first one happen by accident? Then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm onto something here.
No, I wouldn't say it happened by accident, because the way that I actually got a lot of these people was I slid into their DM.
Yep. The magic of a DM, eh?
So I remember I used to just, so basically my moves were, I'd used to go on Daily Mail, I'd go on Daily Telegraph, who are they talking about? Then I'd Insta.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, sweet, hey, look, I would love to get you in for some training sessions. These are my times that I've got free. So for me, the way that I thought about it was, rather than sit at the back and do nothing, why wouldn't I practice, my expertise and get better and better, and then, use those people to block out those sessions? And it worked. You know what I mean? I saw the gap in the market. I knew obviously, Michelle Bridges, Commando, I feel there was time for someone new coming through the ranks, and I was like, hey, I think this is the best way forward.
Yeah.
And seriously, I remember who was obviously got the Veronica.
Who was your first
I'd probably say the biggest ones early on. I'd probably say the Veronicas.
Yeah.
I think we're obviously small girls.
So. The biggest ones. I was with them on what was it, Celebrity Apprentice? Yeah. One of their events. Jeez, they're small.
Good girls are. They're such
they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But then I won after another team, Maddie J, a lot of some models, athletes, and it just kind of just kept going and getting more and more.
Yeah.
And then
you kind of became the trusted person for that, because I feel like, in that industry, there's so many you got to sign an NDA, you got to, be, I guess, discreet about what they do, blah, blah, blah. You can't post all of these different things that you need to adhere to. And then once you've done one, it's kind of like, okay, he knows the drill. He knows what he's doing. Okay, cool. We feel safe with him.
I imagine there's not too many PTs at that end of the market that you're competing against. So once you have a positive name in that space, it can be easy to grow. Yeah. What was the story? There's a cool story, the Richard Branson full story moment.
Yeah,
right?
I guess that was a pretty special moment. I guess for me, obviously working at Virgin.
Yeah.
Richard came and we opened up Zetland, which was the place.
The big one,
the big one. And then obviously for me personally, you'd go around and shake everyone's hand and and everyone gets so excited. But he didn't know anyone's name. And,
for sure.
Probably wouldn't even remember that, right? And then to being in Miami, to his marketing team reaching out, being like, hey, we would love for you to train Richard, Sir Richard Branson. Was for me, that was an incredible moment, because obviously we go back to knowing what I do, and knowing who I am. And I think that for me, that kind of felt pretty special. I was like, hey, all this work that I've done.
The recognition, right?
Has paid off.
And so where did you train him?
I trained him on a voyage in Miami.
It's pretty crazy. I'm like a yacht,
Yeah, which was like just positioned in like in Miami, and then just trained him out of there.
Yeah,
which was cool. Great experience. Good guy. Follows me on Insta still, which is good. You know,
just the follows everything.
Like follows, the quality of followers.
Yeah. Well, you got quantity as well, almost 1 million, so it doesn't hurt. Like,
true.
how many followers did you have when you were like DMing these like celebrities?
I probably would have been about 100. Probably 100. That's from top of my head. Yeah, probably about 100.
Yeah. So there was still like a good following behind you to start. Yeah.
But also, I think back in that time
so
as well.
Anything would get through back in the day.
Exactly.
Now there's like message, like there's primary, general, message request, all message request, hidden message request. It's like, fuck, I miss messages all the time. Imagine someone with your following.
But I think as well, like back then, being offered like a free PT session, you'd be like, oh, sick.
Let's do it.
Like,
I'll take Jono as well. Let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah, fitness first, top gym. Yeah, true. Good point.
But like these days, it's kind of like, oh, cool, free session.
Everyone expects everything. It's crazy.
It is
how
crazy.
The times have changed now. Everyone expects everyone expects everything for free now.
Yeah.
And I think, like going back to obviously like startups and where they should start, I think for me personally is, like go into social media wanting to understand your brand and knowing what it's about rather than expecting like say for example, like free stuff or free sessions, and like never think about that. For me personally, like, and Amy, like it was never a thought of like, hey, like I'm going to go get this paid gig because I'm doing this. It's just because I love, I love what I do. And this is the content that I'm creating, and then just focus on that, focus on your product, focus on what you're putting out there. And then the rest is going to come. People are going to come because they get attracted to your brand.
So do you get people hit you up all the time that are like PTs and like, how do I make myself a successful PT?
I do sometimes, yeah. And it's kind of something that I've been like, once I've kind of settled down a bit with everything going on, I think it's something that I do want to get into.
Yeah.
And create like a module and, like, because once again, social media is such a big thing.
Exactly.
And like, how do you create a brand? How do you create a presence, step out of the pack?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest. Like, how do you be a voice? And
the first person who ever reached out to you, PT,
he's my employee.
He was our first trainer that we hired.
Because you got a decent amount. I was on your website. You got a decent amount of trainers.
Got
about 22 now.
22.
Wow.
Trainers. Yeah, across 2 locations.
Yeah.
How's the new location going? The one Martin Place. Is it like a year old or?
It's about, we're going into close to
October. We opened. So about 9-ish months. Yeah.
What was the thoughts and the strategy around opening there, and why in that location in Martin Place?
Well, I guess we've got our suburban location, which is Kensington. Martin Place was to be a part of the corporate.
Yeah.
The ladder of corporate.
Because what we found was a lot of the people that we train at Kenzo can still train at Martin Place.
Yeah,
so we're
because they commute into the city or whatever. But it's also being able to hit that city market because we'd always get emails saying, oh, where are you located? Kensington. Oh my God, that's so far. Like, really? It's only like 10 minutes down
out
the
of
road.
the city,
Yeah.
And I feel as well, like when we made the second location, I feel like then people were like, oh wow, this is a serious brand.
This is legit
it's
now.
Not just like
it's
a
not
one
like
stop.
it's just a one stop.
Middle,
I feel like once we made that second one, people really started to be like, all right, these guys are serious,
Talk to me like the thought process behind it though. Like I imagine rent in Martin Place isn't cheap. Was like, what was the like evaluation process to decide, we're going to take this gamble. We're going to take this risk.
Yeah. Well, we're in the Fullerton Hotel. So we're partnered with them.
Yep.
And we have that space, which is a lot smaller than what we have now.
Yep.
So what we have in Kensington is obviously.
Kenzo's 480.
Yeah.
Mine is about probably 180, 200.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
So probably like a third. Yeah. So that is more so that we can just service clients in and out. Rather than what we have in Kensington, which is our HQ. We have, PT, we have boxing ring, we have Pilates beds, we have recovery, we have saunas. So that is more so like to make sure that we can service people in the city, but it's just more of an in and out thing.
For those that are like specifically the Kensington gym, but for those that are like, what's your thoughts? I know obviously you're big content people yourselves. Like, and it's like, I know it's like a silly word to get thrown around, and I know there've been common misconceptions about ACERO that it's only like an influencer gym. But like, do you guys allow people to film there, like while they're doing their sessions and set up the tripods? Because like, look at people like Sam Sulek as well. Like, lo-fi content is peaking right now, man. So it's a place where you can go and feel like you can get your content done.
We
and
have
document
tripods around
like,
the gym.
That's the best.
I think people get shocked. They're like, oh, they got tripods.
That's good. Like, because you need a space like that as well. Like, speaking of the judgment, if you're just like at some random gym and you set up, you know, a tripod or whatever, you get looks. It's like people want a safe space to be able to do that and not. You know, like you get used to the judgment when you're a content creator. It's like you don't have to deal with it everywhere. Like it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that comment though, the influencer gym though, because I remember like I used to go out and people were like, oh, you're the guy that owns the influencer gym.
I can see the Daily Mail headline already.
And then I'm like, it kind of, because at the start it was our strategy.
It was cool.
Like it was our strategy. Like it was our strategy to obviously, you know, like we spoke about, use influencers to like get as many influencers as we can in, so we can kind of just flood it,
pump the content. Everyone's seeing it,
and then what I'd tell people is like, don't forget, like your 60-year-old woman isn't gonna repost, isn't gonna be doing a story, isn't gonna be doing her workout of the day. Yeah. So what people were seeing was just
influencers
posting, but there's legit real people in there. And I'd be like, you know, like we barely got any. It's just they're the people that are posting. Yeah. So what we started to overcome that, because it was an issue. Like it was an issue. Yeah. It was like a
bit intimidating for people that maybe don't fit into that group.
Yeah, like you get people saying like, nah, I'm not training. There's two good looking people. You know what I mean? So,
no, I'm not stepping in.
So what we started to do was we started to get someone that was on the gym floor recording us training our 60-year-old clients.
Not just 60, but everyone. Anyone and everyone.
To show it. And then we started to flush that through. Sero, just kind of be like, hey, there's normal people.
Because I wanted to ask, I know this is mainly you, about like the marketing strategy, but crazy that you've been able to build all this just from content and not really any paid stuff. What would you say is like the overarching marketing strategy, Amy, for the ACERO group? We can go specifically into the app and in the clothing after, but maybe just like the gyms or maybe the overarching thing, the place to start.
Yeah, well, I guess, where we started was just influencers, celebrities, and, you know, getting that, because obviously if you have influencers or celebrities, there might be an article, which is a little bit more than just a post. So that was our strategy from the start. Then we flipped to be able to, you know, be like, this gym is for anyone and everyone at any fitness level, any fitness goal. So, you know, obviously pumping out content that showcase that and being more, I guess, inviting to so many more people than just, you know, influencers or
we hired a full-time media team. So first of all,
so that's what we did.
So we obviously, you know, put money into that. Where he would come in every Wednesday. And then we would get that person to record all of our trainers on whatever they wanted to film. And then we'd that as content for a series.
So still to this day, like you've been launched, what was like 3-4 years ago now,
4 years,
and you're still not really having to do any paid ads to fill up the gym, to fill up like the trainer schedules.
No, not at all, man.
Crazy.
Yeah, not at all.
And so like off the back of like the original like success of the gym and the brand, at what point does the clothing and the app come in? What comes first?
So the clothing
Amy's idea. I'm too like Amy's the creative.
Back in the day, when I was in uni, I had a clothing brand. And
hated the label.
Hated the label.
Hated the label. Shout out.
I remember
not around anymore.
You used to go to the markets.
Yeah, I used to go to the markets.
And then you got Sydney Fashion Blogger.
Sydney Fashion Blogger picked up one of my dresses.
Her? She was like, and
she was the OG fashion blogger.
She was like,
so she picked up one of my dresses, wore it in Greece, looked stunning. It went gangbusters. And then that I just decided was not for me. I was doing finance in uni.
Like you didn't have the
I just had no idea about it.
And that was before it was so easy to start a brand online and like it was like very different. There was a lot more manual work and like to build hype online. It wasn't like there were reels or TikToks where you could create something cool and it would just go out to thousands and thousands or millions of people. It was a lot. It was a bit more of a process back in the day.
So obviously got rid of that. But then on the back of ACERO, obviously I wanted to do more. I have creativity, you know, brand strategy, and building a brand is so much to me. So yeah, I guess I was working always on, apparel and what the guys look like at the gym.
I love the grey grey trackies with the green. I was going to get them, but you sold out of my size.
Oh, we'll bring you some.
We'll bring you some.
Nice.
But yeah, I guess that was always on the mind. But that was in the works while we were doing the app. So the app came before the clothing, even though it was still, it was being developed.
What was that process like building the app? I have people on all the time and it's always the same. It's like, fuck, it was such a big project. I didn't realize how much was involved, how much it can cost, how much can go wrong. What did you guys like get caught a little bit like not realizing the extent of the project when you started?
Yeah, I think like the apps, like, for anyone obviously wanted to start an app is there's and this is a reason why not many apps really last, because you need an X amount of people to actually continue to fund your app, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, the maintenance.
Ongoing
support is quite a fair
developers, content, fresh content.
Yeah, so it's quite, it is a big thing, eh?
Yeah. I think, people overlook that.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah, that you need a massive team.
So who had the idea and what was the idea behind it? Like, okay, you're doing so well in the gym, but obviously you're capped at, how many people you can service and add value to. What was the thought behind, hey, we should do this because it's going to help us do X or, it's going to help us do this?
Yeah, with the app, it's like reaching a wider audience.
Yeah.
Being like, okay, someone, even though we offer virtual training, so you can train with one of our PTs in LA, wherever you are in the world, we wanted to offer a slightly more affordable price point to be like, okay, you can subscribe. This is what we do at ACERO. It's all of our pillars, which is, boxing, Pilates, PT, strength and conditioning, and recovery on an app. So you can experience ACERO on the app wherever you are in the world.
So how does that work? Because I know it's like backed by AI and something like.
Yeah, so that's when we wanted this app, like we had so many opportunities to do apps before, but it just never felt right. So we did as soon as this opportunity came with the AI integrated, which is, it does the thinking for you. So if you want to do chest, you type in chest. Are you doing it at home? Are you doing it at a gym? What equipment do you have? Dumbbells?
Yeah.
It kind of spits out like a whole workout every single time, a whole new one.
Yeah.
Whenever.
Yep. Or you can follow a program.
So that's kind of what makes our app very unique to so many out there. And for me personally, it was, we've got an amazing team on there. It's very different to the team that we have working at ACERO. We've got some trainers, but, we've got elite athletes, we, a lot of A-League players, AFL boys, boxing. So we kind of made like an all-star kind of team, probably like Centre Fit,
Like Chris,
like Chris, he's got an amazing team. And that's kind of the route we went with that. But once again, with the app, it's just constant, you need to continue growing.
What's the goal for 5 years, with the app? Is it something, obviously it seems like the gyms are a priority, but is the app just as important to you guys with the vision or where do you see that playing a role
Absolutely.
in the future?
Yeah, I'd say the app is a massive thing, you know what I mean? I think
adding
more value to what we're creating. The vision that I see is hopefully one day being able to integrate the gyms with the app and it's like every member has this type of workout or whatever,
And so as you as the expert in terms of fitness and programming, it's great having it being backed by AI because it can do a lot of the legwork for you. But was there a process of getting the algorithm right? Because it can spit out workouts, but it's what AI will do, we use it heaps like ChatGPT for so many things in business. It'll spit something out that's a really good structure, but I need to tinker these little things. Was there a little bit of work to get it Jono Castano approved, these workouts and stuff?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, 100%. I think. How many exercises did we film, mate?
Oh my God. Thousands and thousands.
So it's all you demoing it off, trainers demoing it, showing them how to do it. Okay.
So, and if it does spit out something that you don't want to do, you can switch out. Substitute exercises as well. So there was a lot of thought behind that and a lot of coding and a lot of filming and Did
you film it in your gym?
We did a bit in the gym and then also a warehouse, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wanted to change it up a bit.
Yeah, mix it up.
Yeah.
But it's just constant adding to the app. I think that's the thing with apps. You just got to keep adding value to people.
Do you have any horror story moments from the build of the app where something just completely broke and you're like, oh my God, banging my head against the wall? Because nearly everyone does it I've spoken to.
I think when the server goes down, hey,
Yeah.
and then you get people messaging, hey, like the app's down, I can't train.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, fuck, you know what I mean? I think that's when I'm like,
Yeah, for sure.
What about like the clothing? We started talking about that. So the app was in the works first. Obviously that can take a long time to get ready. What made you feel like I want to add the clothing line to what we're offering here?
So, I guess around the gym, the guys would wear like cool, like we're not the usual like PT with the collared shirts and, you know, the
Coach
sports.
on the
back. Sports polos.
Coach on the back.
Coach on the back.
Yeah.
Like, what else?
PT.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Little badge. Hi, my name is Jono.
We're not like that. We like our PTs to have swag and like, you know, a vibe.
Oversized.
Oversized
puffers,
stuff. Like mix it up. Like not everyone, it's not a uniform. It is, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess our clients would, you know, request it and be like, where do you buy
this
that?
Sort of
and it says ACERO on it. And I'm like, oh, we just got that printed.
Yeah.
Like,
I think what I love about the apparel is, you know, like when you see someone wearing it out, like say for example, like when you're in Bondi and someone's wearing like a Sero long socks or like Sero trackies that have the biggest Sero. I think that's kind of like, I think for me, that's personally what I've absolutely loved seeing about the wear of Sero is, you know, it's just it helps you just more recognition, you know, like in terms of like what like someone says, Sero, oh, you trained at Sero, like what's it like? What's it like training there?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's kind of what I love to see anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like the way it appears and the way you've been able to style and put everything together. I know it's all tied into the greater ACERO mission and brand, but that could be its own standalone massive business if you guys choose to really push that. Like it's, you've got the right vibe. It kind of ties into everything you're doing as well, but like, have you done any ads for that, or that's still all just off the back of content?
A lot of the people that train at ACERO would buy it.
Yeah. Because it's stocked at ACERO.
Turn that for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just
Yeah, so it's stocked at ACERO, and then all of our clients pretty much buy it. So so the way we view it is it's always going to sell.
It's an extension of the business.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when it's franchised, then that would just kind of go to across all the gyms, you know.
Yeah. I want to talk about some things with you. I want to get both of your opinions on some of these things, but obviously this area for you is like your bread and butter, because a lot of people listening, you know, this podcast, people are just like at whatever stage they're at in some way, shape or form want to improve their life, whether it be business, money, finances, investing, health, wellness, training, biohacking, all that sort of stuff. So as someone that's been across so many body transformations, and I know you've been in like around the industry for a long time too, what do you think is the main thing that stops people from achieving their like health and fitness goals? You would have seen it all the time. Some people smash it, but of course, just naturally, not everyone is going to be able to see it through.
I'd say not having a strong enough purpose would be the main one. I think once you kind of really identify on why you're doing what you're doing, I think that's the most important thing, because people just like to be like, oh, sweet, I'm just going to start training. But you need to start training because I want to be there for my kid. I want to live a healthier lifestyle. I want longevity.
Yeah.
You know, I think once you kind of understand that purpose, and that's what's going to take you to the next spot. Because like people quit, man. Like I've had some quit like 20 minutes, you know what I mean? And they're like, I'm like, this isn't for me, you know?
Really? Like too hard?
Too hard, yeah. And you know, who knows what that person is now, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's not an easy thing. Like,
is that your job as a PT to in the consult or the first session to find out their why, so you can lean on that and whenever you need to?
100%. I think what you see great personal trainers doing is building rapport very, very quick. Because once again, you know, this person doesn't know you. This person, you need to be able to break it down very, very quick, and that's what the best personal trainers do. Why
do you think you've been able to do that so quickly? What is it about? And then what do you think it is about Jono that allows him to do that too?
I think with me personally, when I talk to someone, you can feel the words that I'm talking to you. Like, you know, I'm not just there like looking there. I'm not here. I'm not on my phone.
Checking your phone.
You know, like I'm looking straight at you. I'm looking. So everything that I say to you is you're gonna feel it. And then I feel like for me personally, that's kind of what I've, you know, done over time. And people they really kind of break down pretty quick. Like I don't know if it's just my good energy that I have or you know, like I'm kind of like whenever I meet people, they're like, you know, you're so nice and like you can definitely feel your energy and all that type of stuff. And I think that's what's kind of helped me with my clients.
Yeah. What would you say in terms of what Jono does?
Yeah, I think, Jono can talk to a brick wall for first, literally. Yeah. And I think he's also very relatable.
Yeah.
He finds that common ground very quickly. And it could be anything. Yeah, true. It could be like, oh, so what'd you have for breakfast? Oh, yeah, cool. I had that too. Yeah. Like he's like, very relatable and also just – that person who can get to the core of things without being too like intrusive.
And I'm sure I guarantee it, like there's no way you could say none of this. Like at the size of your followings you're going to get people that, dislike you or, like that want to, because of the lifestyle you portray now and they'll think like, oh, he's always had it easy. It was gifted to him, all this stuff. Yeah. You got a pretty crazy like backstory and journey. Right? Your family's from Colombia. Were you born there or moved over pretty young? I
was born over in Colombia.
You were born there. Yeah. So what was life like there before? Like just to set the scene for people that see you living this life now. I just feel like
that's why I actually love posting like where I actually came from, like through social media, because people just jump on and they're like, oh, this guy's done this, done that, but they always forget about where it all started.
Where it started.
Like started in Colombia, small town. Dad took the risk in migrating to Australia, spent some time in the detention centre, spent 2 years before he could actually fly myself, my mum and my brother.
Yeah.
So 2 years here in Australia just doing like the absolute
big sacrifice, man.
Big sacrifice, and worked his ass off in order just to get us those plane tickets because once again, like money that you make over there is never going to,
enough to come to somewhere like Australia.
Like life there is, like you're either, you know what I mean? You're going to involved in crime, whatever. Yeah. That's one of the the directions that you can head. You would never been able to afford uni. So say goodbye to that. There's no way I would have been doing that. I would have been in the sugar, like cutting sugar canes. That's kind of like, in terms of my town, that's pretty much what everyone
What's your hometown called back there?
La Virginia.
Yeah.
So that's what everyone did, man. Sugar canes. They get. I remember my dad used to get paid like $100 a month.
Yeah.
And like that
crazy.
And that was a journey, man. Like that's all. If I was there, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
If my dad didn't take that risk migrating here, man. So I'm always super grateful, and I think that's kind of like why my dad shows me so much tough love. Because he expects so much, he's given us this amazing opportunity to do something with our lives. And, but that's definitely why my dad's, so hard on me.
How do you because I can imagine from the older generation, from a country that's lived a much tougher life to what you've been able to live now. How do you, as someone, you seem very open and you connect with people and you can empathize. Have you been able to sort of have those conversations with your dad and be kind of express fuck, how much I love you and everything he's done? Are you able to sort of have those conversations, or is it a little bit tricky just with that generation?
I feel it's tricky with that generation.
Yeah, particularly with his upbringing, right?
It's different, that mentality is so different to, to, you know what I mean? I take my dad out to a nice restaurant. He's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's that type of mentality. Why don't you save your X amount and just, you know what I mean? Put it towards something that's kind of their generation. And I totally respect that. And I feel this new generation probably needs to learn a little bit of that. Of that hard grit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Things don't come easy, dude. Kind of back in the day, there was no social media, there was nothing. And everyone used to just log away just for a little bit of buck, And I definitely think that old Jen is very different, like your parents.
Where's your family from?
Born and raised in Sydney.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, your mum's Filipino.
My mum's Filipino.
Okay. Yeah.
I was born here. I'm an only child.
Okay, that's interesting in of itself, being an only child. I've got a couple friends only an only child, and just seeing was like such a different experience, right? Did you feel like that's made you a lot more independent?
Big time.
Yeah.
I think if my parents tell me go right, I'll go left. Always, right?
Yeah. You don't even know your left and right.
So no, I don't.
What's left?
But I think that made me incredibly independent and just always fighting to always do something myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at what point do you guys cross paths? Because you were out, you lived out west, Fairfield West, right?
This is funny story. Amy's my ex-wife,
Yeah, I know.
It's funny because so many people are like, oh, I saw your sister the other
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Oh,
They always say
at
I
a restaurant.
love.
Oh, your sister was here the other day.
I love that,
my clients, is that your sister?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I know the story.
I'm
doing
like,
my research.
I'm like, dude, no, that's not.
They always say, love that you and your brother have a business. Sometimes I'm like,
because we kind of look like we've got the dark
You can
features.
kind of, yeah.
You can pull it off, so it's quite funny. But yeah, we crossed paths through. I lived out west.
Yeah.
And then I think I added you on MySpace.
Yeah, you did.
MySpace, shout out.
Yeah.
Back in the
Always
day.
just slide in the DMs. I think maybe that's where I learned.
That's where you do your best work.
That's what I did. That must be where I learned it.
Yeah.
Surely. And then I saw you at a nightclub, wasn't it? Yeah. And then from there we kind of just started hanging out. I lied to her about my age. I said I was 2
years older than me.
2 years older.
Yeah.
I was still doing my HSC.
Yeah.
She was in uni.
Yeah.
And then I remember you had a melt
Yeah, I had a meltdown.
When you found out his age?
I was like, no, can't do this. But it's literally 18 months apart.
It is, now that you think about it, we're like, dude.
Yeah.
It's just like that. Like my missus is older than me, 5 years. So it's
Yeah.
Well, Leonardo DiCaprio, man.
Yeah. He still can't get past that. I feel like as well though, like when you're young growing up, as an ambitious guy, I feel like it's something like an older woman, it's kind of something, there's a little something it's just different. There's a different level to the conversation, to the attraction, to if you're someone with your kind of a really clear plan for your life, you kind of want to connect with someone that understands that and can kind of have that, level conversation, you inspire each other and you help each other grow. But it's cool watching you guys, you wouldn't even know that you seem still the absolute best mates.
She's my best mate for sure, 100%.
I'd sort of say brother and sister.
Yeah. So you were together 10, 15 years, right? It was a while.
Yeah. Probably 16 or so.
Yeah, about 16.
Yeah. And then how's the work dynamic in terms of when you went through all that?
When
and then
we broke up, it was pretty shit.
That was not great.
It was just kind of it wasn't great. It was just hard. It was a hard place to kind of be in because our staff kind of knew and they're like, oh, do I go Amy's side? Do I go Jono's side?
Yeah.
I had people being in my ear being like, oh, you should get rid of her.
Yeah.
Just start your business again. You could do it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what for? You know what I mean? The 16 years that we share, you can never get back, man.
No, 100%.
And no one is ever going to understand.
No.
Yeah, you grew up together,
literally.
Throughout of everything. You guys had none of this following, none of these opportunities, none of the money.
And I think that's what makes our business relationship today is that we have that solid foundation and trust in each other.
Yeah.
Where would you find that in a business partner?
100%. And it's those legacy friends, particularly now once you're successful people and you've got this platform, it's easy to go and make friends and you will connect and some of them will be genuine connections, but it's you can never go back and create any more friends from back that were with you on the journey when you were becoming the man or the woman you are today, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I remember Amy used to wait, I used to pack the shelves at Coles.
Yeah.
And Amy drop me there and then just wait 8 hours in the car.
Because I'd be studying for uni.
Yeah.
She'd wait 8 hours in the car just waiting for me, you know what I mean?
You can't replace that stuff. So did you just need a bit of time to kind of decompress and sort yourselves out to come back in such a strong way?
Yeah. So it was lockdowns again. So we opened in the first lockdown, second lockdown, we broke up.
Yeah.
So
one lockdown was enough, eh?
Yeah.
A lot of people broke up that time.
Yeah, they did.
They
you know
did.
What I mean? It was kind of just.
But it was kind of
it's a pressure cooker in that situation. That's right.
It was good because obviously we're on socials, so people see our content.
Yeah.
And our content obviously changed dramatically.
Was it a lot of couple content at the time before or?
It would be, yeah. And people would be like, I haven't seen Jono in a while. What's going on? And you're just like, it's all fine. So we kept it very on the hush for the business.
Yeah.
Because, we obviously just started it. So we were like, okay, first and foremost, business is everything for us. So during that lockdown, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise because he would be at the gym, I wouldn't be at the gym. Or I would be at the gym, he wouldn't be at the gym. So, we kind of managed that in that way. But also just getting over that hump of really emotional time.
Sure. Such a long time together. Gotta have to feel what you got to feel, go through what you got to go through. Right?
I think you talk about it well when you talk about, learn to just accept the situation and actually, really well when you talk
Well, we didn't want, like, we obviously knew it ended, our marriage ended, but we didn't want our relationship to end. And I think we both felt that. So it was like whoever, like, you know, cuts the tie is going to be the one that's going to burn the brunt of like, you know, what's going to happen next? Are we going to not see each other? Is everything going to come crashing down? Like, what's going to happen? So I think we both knew that we wanted to be in each other's lives. It was just about getting over that hump, and then also accepting where I was at, where you were at, and accepting each other for what it is.
And how is that? Because you guys have like, your partners have become like, you know, great friends and sweet. Like how was it navigating that situation when you got new partners and you're like, oh yeah, this is my ex-husband, my ex-wife. We're business partners. We still see each other how many times? Because like you got to have like, it's got to be take like a mature partner on both of your ends to be able to accept that and be okay with that. You know what I mean?
And when we were both dating, like I was very open from the start. I'm like, I've got to, you know, I have a business. Like obviously the people that, you know.
Well, they would know.
They know.
Yeah, they'd
sure.
know. But I would just be like, you know, he's going to be in my life. So it's either you accept it or you don't. And some would just not understand at all.
Yeah, some didn't understand at all. And I said, no, I just can't do this.
It's not like.
Like it's not worth it.
It's a 15, 16 years of history. Like we're going to flush all that down the drain because someone can't handle their emotions or accept the situation. I'm the same. I think that's such a shame. It's like I've always been the person when like I've, you know, previous relationships have ended, that I'm always really cool to be able to be friends. And sometimes the other partner isn't there and you can't and you got to separate. But when both are in the position where you can accept it for what it is and like that's the past is the past, but we still value each other and love each other in terms of like that relationship, then I think it's such a shame to throw all that down the drain.
Absolutely, absolutely.
For sure. I want to ask a few more questions before we start to wrap this up. Now, Jono, in one of the, I don't know if it was an article I read or it was an interview I was watching with you, you spoke about 3 key values that have been so important to you and your success. And they related probably to the 3 like biggest ones for me. They were hard work. Like if you want to be successful, hard work is a non-negotiable. Like self-belief and taking risks. Can you talk to me about and just break it down for the people listening, why each one of them was so vital to your success?
Well, I guess for me personally, hard work is like we always say, like, man, like, especially being in this PT industry, the amount of trainers that I see so lazy and not wanting to be there. I think if you want to run a successful PT business, your main drive needs to be hard work. If you're not training someone, you need to be on the floor. Looking for people, or you're going to be on social media looking for people. So I think you always got to be on the move. Always got to be on the
regardless
move.
of what industry. No one that I've spoken to on this podcast is like, oh yeah, I worked a couple hours and no,
it's impossible.
It's a grind and it's a build. And like people always give up. And like, cause there are success stories like Happy Skin Co. You know, we did over $10 million in our first year. Like we did $1 million in 3.5 months. It's like people expect that or they give up, but that's like the exception to the rule. Most of the time it takes months and months and months or a couple years, 3, 4, 5 years to build something. And it's like, you only fail when you give up. Particularly with like the world we live in of social media and content. If you stay consistent, you will find a way to crack it. It's guaranteed in my opinion if you don't give up and keep working. I talk about taking risks. How did taking risks, like if you didn't do that, if your dad didn't do that, you wouldn't be here. You know what I mean?
Be here. I guess if we didn't take the risk, you know, like because when we built ACERO, like we used everything that we had saved. Right? And that was like a massive risk for us. So I think taking risks is a massive thing for me personally.
That thought process when like you guys had to like use so much of what you had saved to make this happen. Talk to me about the conversations you guys had. Like, was it like one was all in, one had to be convinced?
I think we're both in. I think for me personally, it was like kind of like when we started to get out, and things were like, Amy was coming out with this and that, and I was like, oh man, like,
shit. Like we can have an ice cream machine coming from the roof. Like all of the like crazy ideas. But yeah, I think we were always on the same page.
Yeah, we were always on the same page because it kind of just felt like the next step for us.
It felt right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like you can only be like, you're limited if you stayed in what you're doing before, right? There's a cap ceiling to
it's
that.
always like the thing, you know, the best rewards are outside of your comfort zone, right? That's where the money is, right? So if you can kind of get to that stage, which we did, and we took that risk. So yeah, I'll definitely say anyone listening to obviously the potty is, definitely take risks. Just believe in it. Like believe in yourself.
So self-belief, that one too.
Yeah,
for me, I feel like it's my biggest superpower.
Yeah.
Like self-belief is like the core thing inside me that has allowed me to push through all the bullshit, to push through when you don't want to when the people are saying, that's not going to work. Why are you going to do that? What a stupid idea. You're like, I'll show you, right?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, self-belief. Like even like for me, I was actually meant to go to Los Angeles and start living there. And I was always like, I can do this. It was never like I've got to start again.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not going to do well. And like I always, like in any situation, I've always been like, you know what? I'm always going to do well.
Yeah.
Because I know what it feels like to have nothing.
Yeah.
You know, like I've felt having nothing. I know what it feels like.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think
that's the cool thing about the story, man. It's like a true like from nothing to everything sort of story. And it's 100%. Like people can use excuses. And like I went to a public school. I went out Sula High. You went to Westfields, yeah? I wish I went to Westfields to play the sport, but I wouldn't actually change it because I'm still, as I said, like my high school mates, I'm still best mates with all them. But it's like so many people from out in the area, they limit themselves to what they can achieve because they're from there and they're not surrounded and hearing stories and seeing people go out and do all these things. So make a point of going back about once a year and speak them old school because like you never really, at least I didn't in my school, you didn't really hear people from the area going and doing these exciting things and businesses. It was just like you either get a trade or you go to uni and you get a job. That was kind of all they sold to you as like a kid from the area. So like hearing people like doing these things and like, sweet, I moved obviously out of the area too because I want to live in a space with a lot of things going on. But like I wouldn't change my childhood and my upbringing for anything because it made me who I am today. And I think the guys that grew up around Rose Bay and went to Knox College and all these places, there's values to that as well. And their relationships and networking from day one would have been incredible. But like when you've been able to be like self-made, and no such thing as self-made, everyone leans on people, but to go from the place where like you didn't have money at the start at all and step by step be able to build that, I feel like that builds a really like well-rounded individual. But what do you think, is there any values for you, Amy, that are outside of those three: hard work, risk-taking, self-belief, that you think looking back on your journey really impacted your success and for people that are listening could really help them achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve?
I think like growth is such a massive
good one.
And always
because we're not born perfect.
No, we're not. And I think it's realizing that, accepting where you are and being like, okay, I can be better. Like always learning, always being like hungry for more and being like, okay, I can grow, I can get to the next stage, which obviously ties in with self-belief. But also growing in the sense of like if that is education or taking a risk on something that you never know. And I think making those mistakes is massive. Like doing something, making a mistake is better than, not doing it at all.
And that growth thing you mentioned as well comes down to what you both said, putting yourself in the uncomfortable situations.
Yes.
I was just thinking about
when
that.
Something makes you uncomfortable, like human nature is to retreat and go away from that. But like if you're someone that is growth focused, 9 times out of 10, all the growth you want is on the other side of that uncomfortable thing that you're avoiding, right?
Yeah. Well, I think about our journey and I think the most we've ever been successful is in the most uncomfortable positions we've ever been in. Like when we're, going along all happy and whatever, it's like, okay, cool. You kind of chill, you float along. But then when you become uncomfortable, it's where you're like, holy shit, I need to like grab this by the horns and actually take charge right now.
I think it's a big thing. Yeah, the growth, like, you know what I mean? Like, because I was very introverted. Like for me, I would never jump.
Crazy what you've been able to do since starting from an introverted.
You wouldn't think it now. Like, you told me go on a podcast like about, 8 years ago.
Yeah, you'd be like, nah, man.
If you look at my first TV segment that I did compared to now, like you can just see a massive shift and like just the growth in obviously, believing in myself. But growth is a massive thing.
Yeah. The growth journey, once you go onto it and you start to experience the benefits of growing as an individual, as a person, it's addictive. It's the most addictive thing, like the quest to become the best version of yourself. I think talk about purpose, like I think like in every ambitious, successful person, that's one of their core purposes, to get the best out of themselves. And like when it comes to getting the best out of yourselves, I'll only ask a couple more questions, we'll wrap up. I wanted to ask something about, for you guys in the industry that you're in, what does your like ideal routine look like on like a peak performance day? Like what sort of, morning and nighttime routines, or when are you guys training? Like what does ideal peak performance look like for both of you?
I'm anti-routine.
Anti-routine, yeah.
So, I think because of how, I guess, fluctuating my day is, it could like a spanner could be thrown in the works and I just got to deal with it. You know, like, so I think I was such a routine person when we were married. Like I was like, I'd wake up at a certain time. I would do things at certain times. And if something threw me off, that would throw me off. Like if something was like, okay, if it comes up and I got to handle it, I'll be like, well, I've got to do this right now. So I think being flexible, like having time slots is cool. Like I'll be like, okay, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., that time slot is for meetings or whatever I'm dealing with for the gym. And then, you know, putting out time slots for things is what I do. I don't really say, okay, you know, I need to do this at this time or whatever. It's just more like blocking out my day and schedule rather than being like, okay, it's very routine.
And are you like a training in the morning before work person? You straight into work? Like what's your ideal morning?
I guess get ready. I got to have at least 2 coffees before I leave home.
Okay.
And then I come in, I train straight away. Otherwise, if I sit around, it's not going to happen. And then straight into work after that.
What about you, Jono?
My peak performance day would probably be obviously I was like say for example 4 days sessions, but I would get my peak out of training, like training myself. Like when I train myself and I create content and, you know, like I feel like that's kind of where I see a lot of value in my day. Like if I was just to do 12 clients and then go home and sleep, then I would say that's a shit day.
Yeah. Do you get energy by doing that as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Like for me, when I have time to train myself and put stuff on social media and then I'm like, hey, like.
That fuels everything as well.
Yeah. You
like
know,
you've covered all bases.
Yeah, covered all bases. Like I'm eating good. I'm eating well. I think that's, for me, that's like a perfect day. Like getting good amount of sleep.
Yeah.
Which is pivotal and obviously, you know.
So as someone at your level in terms of a trainer, what time are you in bed and what time are you up on like an average day?
So normally I start at 4:30, so I'm up at 3:30 in the morning. There would be days like, say for example, there's a client that loves to train at 8 p.m. and that's the only time we can train.
Yeah.
So that finishes at 8:45. So sometimes I'm in bed by like 9ish.
Yeah.
Up at 3:30.
Yeah.
But once again, hey, like when people kind of like see that and they see how hard you're working for your socials, I think that creates a point of difference as well.
Sure, yeah.
You know, for me, I'd never say no to anyone. Like if someone wants to be like, I want to train at 3 a.m, I'd be like, sweet.
Oh, yeah.
We're open.
I'll see you there, you know.
Yeah.
When a lot of trainers will be like, nah, man, like no weekends.
Yeah.
I'm not training anyone before 6, 7, you know what I mean? And that's your traditional trainer.
Well, that's again part of your point of difference. One last thing I'll ask before we wrap up this app. Motivation and discipline. Again, in your industry, extremely important, not only in terms of training, in terms of business and getting the best out of yourself. What do you think is more important for you? And maybe you can relate it to your clients. Is it motivation to like finding ways to enjoy what you're doing and get yourself excited by it? Or like, are you David Goggins style where it's like, get up, you bitch. Like it doesn't matter, do the work, just and figure out a way to do it regardless.
I think for me, motivation's up and down.
Yeah.
It's never like constant, like just I'm going to be motivated the whole year. For me, it's discipline. When I'm disciplined and I'm like, this is me like at 100%, that's when I get the best results.
Yeah.
When I'm disciplined throughout my days, throughout my clients, throughout my jobs, I think that's for me, that's where I perform the best and the best results happen.
Yeah. Discipline for me is the main thing.
Yeah.
I think motivation, it can spark from
like sometimes
the shortest little thing. Like you could watch a video on Instagram and be like, okay, I'm motivated. You know, like that's like a 5-minute thing or an hour thing. I think discipline is where you really have to be strong with yourself to be like, I got to do this and dig deep. And all of us here who work for ourselves, we know discipline. If you don't do it, who's going to do it? No one.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that's like discipline is a massive part of it. But what I found is allowed myself to get the best out of myself is being disciplined in doing things that generate motivation for myself. So I'm a big visualizer, like coming back to the purpose why I'm doing things, visualizing that, experiencing that, surrounding myself with people having these sort of conversations that do inspire me. So like I found out last year I had ADHD and that like so much of my life made sense after finding that out. So like in terms of for me, obviously discipline is a massive part of what you do. And like when you do something you don't want to do, afterwards you feel the best. Like you feel the best when you do those things, but it's like for people that kind of struggle with discipline, if you can kind of try and hack the system and like more consistently try and do the things that generate motivation or put you in that excited state to go chase your goals, that can also be a little shift that can help with that. But what's next for you guys? What can people expect to see out of you and ACERO over the next 12 months?
My perfume line coming out, eh?
Yeah.
333. It's
Triple
called.
three, more angel numbers. There we go.
Yeah, that's
so when's that coming out?
It comes out in August.
Exciting.
So it's taking a bit of
October.
So it's just saying that's kind of like something that's came across.
Yeah.
That we get so much stuff coming across the table.
Yeah. Like opportunities thrown at you all the time, right?
But it's kind of like sounded cool, and I was like, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So for me, that's coming up.
Yeah, and the growth of ACERO. I think, you can
that's a big
expect something new from ACERO beginning of next year, which is very exciting. Yeah.
And
that's going to be great.
Where's the best place people can follow you? Like on like Instagram, TikTok? Like where's the best spot?
I'd probably say for me, it would be Instagram. That's kind of where I'm most active anyway.
Yeah.
I find it hard to kind of go, I think it's so important to do multiple apps if you can. If you've got time, because obviously the different algorithms, TikTok market's going to be different to Instagram market versus, Twitter, that type of stuff. If you can get across all of them, great.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I'm like, Instagram's enough for me.
I'm laughing because Twitter's like, it's not Twitter anymore.
What's it called?
X. Yeah.
It's X.
Oh, well, that's it. You can tell. I don't know.
School.
What's it called?
That's
I'm really big on Twitter.
Hey, imagine I said that.
Most people still, to be fair, I reckon it's still 50-50 people still call it Twitter.
Yeah.
So it's
What's
all
it called?
X. X.com, baby. Elon.
Yeah,
One of Elon's genius moves.
Yeah.
And so what's your handles? Just Jono Castano and Amy Castano?
Yeah.
You can find you.
Jono Castano, ACERO, and Amy Castano.
Yeah.
Yep.
X.
Everything's there.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, it's great to have you on. Appreciate you giving us your time. Excited for people to kind of get a little insight into your journeys and kind of what you're going on now, what they can expect for the future. So tons of value. Thank you again and for dropping in. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Done. Beautiful. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or you got something out of it, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your friends a favor and share this with them and they can come along on this journey with us. Thanks again and I'll see you next time.